He is a bold voice of choice, representing the youth of Ghana and all of Africa. He speaks truth to power. He's insightful, delightful, and when he speaks with intellect and integrity. He is Ivan Kyei Innocent, and he is my special guest on Master of the Game, the program where we bring you the movers, shakers, icons, and legends of our beloved motherland, Ghana. So, Ivan, you are a student not only of public health but also of history. Yeah. Looking at pre-independence in Ghana and the independence of Ghana and the vision of the first president of Ghana, who do you see in Ghana as a leader who has surpassed that vision?
I think post-independence, the energy and the kind of enthusiasm with which we secured independence, there were a lot of hope. And Ghana was a model. Ghana was seen as the model of democracy then, because we were the first country in the sub-Saharan Africa to secure independence, went ahead to inspire about 32 other countries in the next 10 years to secure independence. So everybody was looking at us, the shining star. And Nkrumah started very well, because he had a plan, he had a master plan, because to develop you need to industrialize, and that was the policy that he adopted by setting up factories and industries across the country. Because anywhere in the world where we see countries developing, industries must play quite a crucial role. And for industry to thrive, you need to also till the land to be able to produce the product that will be needed for some of these things. So he had a particular master plan, set in motion a number of factories. The whole Tema was created as an industrial city. But
that's where I was born.
Yes, but today it's a residential area. People are killing themselves for a portion of land, but the gentleman saw it and had a vision that that place should be just for industries. That is why he built a motorway. So when you're on the way, you don't stop anywhere, straight to work. After that, you come home. But today, Tema has become something different. You understand? So that is the vision, set up these factories, whole lot. When you do that, you boost the economy. But you are able to export and you get some money and your currency will be stable. And in recent time, that is the policy China has adopted. China realized that they have the numbers. So how do we leverage our numbers for economic gain? They realized that production is key. So they decided to produce things for themselves and ship some outside.
It is interesting, if I may interject for a second,
okay.
to see how people are very happy to praise China for what they're doing.
Yes.
Happy to praise Singapore and Malaysia for what they're doing, even though they may see similarities in exactly what Kwame Nkrumah did, yet do not want to give Kwame Nkrumah the credit for his vision.
Yeah, that's the problem. And Nkrumah's popularity transcended beyond Africa, and I think he had some even engagement with the Chinese government, then Russia and other. Nkrumah was a global icon. So I think that is the strategy some of these countries have adopted. So for China, even they can deliberately depreciate their yuan just to
boost sales of their products.
Exactly, because you can, as a Chinese person, you may not have enough dollars to go and buy an iPhone. So your only choice is to buy Huawei, and that benefit the country. You understand? So that was the plan. But here, all the industries that were set up by Kwame Nkrumah, that particular vision, when Nkrumah's government was torpedoed, wasn't just Nkrumah that was torpedoed, wasn't just his government, his vision was trashed. Even books written by him, and the factories that he built, everything has gone down. And today, Ghana has become some kind of an embarrassment. Among countries, we gave them that this thing. That
so look, I mean, I'm looking at it, and I think it was diabolical the way his leadership and his legacy was handled by those who got a chance to be in power.
Yes.
It's as if you are in a 100-meter race with somebody. They know they can never beat you in the race. So all they aim to do is to step on your heel with their spikes.
Exactly.
But he's even bigger now than when he was alive.
Oh yes. Because you see, that mentality then is what was brought to us about 80 years ago. The same mindset. If it was not us, then nobody should do it. And you don't build a country with such mindset. A country requires the collective insight, the collective mind, the collective will of everybody. Because governance is not an individual enterprise. One person cannot build. As a president, you are at liberty to look at the vast majority of talent and potential within the country employ the best that will help you achieve your goal. So if you deem the section of your citizens as enemies, definitely you can move on. You understand? And I think that is how we deviated. And now the focus on the young people is no longer even on the table. Fortunately for us, in Africa, we have the youthful population, and it's an envy of the world. Look at the number of young people who are leaving the shores of this country to go seek greener pasture elsewhere. America came up with this American lottery, giving young people the license to go there and work, till the land, work in their factories for them. But these are the very people we are losing, because the insight and the foresight to set up these enterprises here just to ensure that we get these people in, they work, and at the end of the day, the produce will benefit us, and it will also benefit and boost the economy. That mindset is not there. It's about creating avenues and enterprises that will make money for ourselves. So we prefer, instead of making sure we do rice farming by bringing on board young people, providing all the necessary incentive and the machinery to do large-scale rice farming for young people, we will prefer to give that particular right and contract to few people to go and import these things here, make money at the expense of everybody. And when you do some of these myopic political initiative, when you undertake these myopic political policies, at the end of the day, the country will contrast. It will not grow. And it's the reason why we are here. So for me, I think that over the years, we've been thinking on a linear scale. We need to expand and look at opportunities that are ahead of us.
But we had all these industries built.
Yes.
It is true that not all of them were really globally competitive.
Yes.
But at least we're becoming self-sufficient.
Yes.
And sometimes you must say, I'm going to spend this little extra to ensure my youth are employed.
Yes.
As opposed to keep my youth unemployed and import all these things into my country, because then you're just going to create an army of lazy people.
Yes.
But what happened to all the industries? They got sold off.
Everything.
Instead of finding ways to make them better.
Yes. That is why I've been telling you that young people need to take a center stage in this politics, in this enterprise called politics. It isn't a reserve of few people. Because you see, these were decisions made by people we voted for. A government of our own design, a government of our own creation, turned out to be a tool that came a tool that was impoverishing almost everybody.
One of my favorite speakers, allow me to interject for a second,
Okay.
Noam Chomsky, one of the most brilliant thinkers in the world today and one of the greatest linguists, and in fact one of my heroes, talks about the con of privatization, where a few people who get a chance to be in political power intentionally run down state-owned enterprises. And then after they run them down, they tell the people that now it's not profitable. And then they don't sell it to their enemies. They sell it to themselves or their friends. And then they come and run them and make profit. And then after they have made enough profit, they run them down again and then find a state to come and take over. And this cycle goes on and on. Did this happen in Ghana too?
Oh, exactly. That is the playbook. That has always been the playbook. Look at all the state-owned enterprises in this country. None of them is making profit. These are debt enterprises, creating a load of debt. Today we can mention that of ECG. We can mention even Cocoa Board. We can mention almost all the state-owned enterprises, including Bank of Ghana, an institution that is supposed to provide monetary policies and plans for the whole financial space. That enterprise is running at a loss.
How is
unprecedented level.
How is
because
that possible?
Some people decided to take foolish decisions, and they felt they were not amenable to wisdom. They were not answerable to people, because when some of these decisions were being made, people were vocal. People were speaking
even though
against
the
it.
government has changed, we see nothing happening.
Exactly, that is the point. Maybe it may be too early days yet, but I'm sure something has to be done, because some of these crimes can never go unanswered. Because you see, the reason why Ghanaians voted for change, they wanted accountability. So that particular thing must kick in now. People must answer for their crimes. And in a state where people go scot-free when they do some of these evil deeds, that country will never advance. Let me take you to South Korea. Last week, the sitting president has been removed from office. He has been impeached by the court for some decision that he took. Because in December, he declared a martial law, which was deemed unconstitutional. So Parliament passed law or a bill to impeach him. And about last week, the Constitutional Court of South Korea has impeached the president. Actions must have consequences. But in our part of the world, that is not the case. People commit atrocity crimes that have consequences, long-lasting impact on the life of the people in a negative fashion, yet they walk free. The gentleman at Bank of Ghana virtually turned Bank of Ghana into a printing press. He was using it to print money on a daily basis. People were speaking. He breached all the constitutional provisions because there are requirements.
Which gentleman are you talking about?
Addison, the former Bank of Ghana governor. He was printing cash. He turned the place into a printing press. Printing cash night, day, every morning. He was printing cash.
On whose instruction?
On the president. They were doing this to finance the inefficiencies and the atrocities of government, because the government went overboard, taking foolish decisions. You need money to finance.
And the BS that goes on is after they have done all this, they will have somebody come and say, why did you say this about me? Why did you say this about me?
That is the problem. That is, you see, we have weaponized the entire political space in such a way that people are no longer interested in the conversation anymore. We are rather interested in personalities. And the personalities, where do they stand across the political divide? Do they align with me ideologically, politically? Then let me go and defend them. We don't debate issues anymore. So these people have the freedom to do whatever that they want to do, and they get away with it. So I think we need to institute certain measures. I've been preaching that in the state, a country cannot show mercy, a country cannot show weakness, because human beings, naturally, we are evil. If you show mercy, people will take advantage. If you show that kind of mercy, people will do the worst things and they will come back and apologize.
The Famanyame principle.
That kind of nonsense. So for me, for me, I think we need to establish the conventional red lines in the sand and tell people, say, hey, actions have consequences. If you go beyond this, these are the consequences that await you. The state cannot appear to be weak. The state cannot appear to be offering mercy card to people.
So you're printing money. We don't know where all those monies went.
Yes.
Because we did not even have enough gas to ensure that we can provide electricity for the people. Where did all this money go?
People pocketed them. That is a simple explanation.
To do what?
Because if you look at the inflation numbers... So we see when you put a fool in power and they are stealing, they just steal the way they think. Yes. So you have this insatiable greed. The greed is insatiable, meaning you can never satisfy it. But yet they are determined to satisfy it. That is where the foolishness comes in. So they may steal and steal what they don't even need. Look at this Adubo Ahin's case.
Which of the Dubois?
The recent one.
Now, me pacho woman me no woman papa ni MPP ni no running for president now.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Oh. They wanted to create generational wealth for themselves, where one person will steal and will take care of the family for the next 100 years,
and then other families will starve for the next 10,000 years.
And they see your kid and they'll tell you, say, help papa more bra, that kind of nonsense. You see, it's funny. And they were able to do all these things because there is no accountability. Institutions that are supposed to have oversight responsibilities have all reneged. They've all clawed back because they are all part of the criminal enterprises that is unfolding. You understand? And for me, that is the problem. So we must begin to institute proper measures and ensure that the state is ready to confront some of these things. Until that readiness is shown, trust me, people will continue to do some of these excesses and they will get away with it. So for Adubo Ahin case, if you look at the manner with which this guy pulled this whole heist, quote unquote, you could see this is an unintelligent person.
But you know one sad thing? I was at a party recently and I was speaking to a lady, one who is about 50 and another who is about 40. And I was telling them about how I do not consider thieves intelligent. And go, no. They must be intelligent to be able to come by so much money. And I looked at them very quietly and I realized it was time for me to leave the party. It's only
exactly.
It's really sad.
Exactly.
I spoke about Noam Chomsky. Now, hey, me can kakra. Mr. Meka Makuma Sokasa. Mommy and Kai who said, and yen ya wabo bifie. Ako wia watch, ako wia phone, ako wia sikapeni ye wio. Ni awatena si afa adwen apɛ kwan bi a ɔde dwirim ɛbɛbɔ ɔman no krono no ɔno ne ewi kɛseɛ na ɛba ne sɛnti na ne ɔno kɔ wie a bibi ketewa no ɔno tumi kɔdam mfie bebree na nea wabɔ ɔman ne po paa no na ɔda ho ne nam ne ɛyɛ no honorable ɛba ne saint ne ɛte saa. But let's go listen to Noam Chomsky. We'll be right back after this.
It's a standard way of privatizing something.
The discerning audience, the knowledge.
Excellent furnishing in a real estate business is a great deal for survival.
Standard way of privatizing something. Like when Margaret Thatcher wanted to privatize the British railroads, the technique was defund them. And then when they don't work, people get angry. They say, let's do something. So you hand it over to private enterprise, which totally ruins them, and then the state has to come back in, big cost, and try to reconstruct it somehow. It's known as privatization. And that's exactly what's happening with Social Security. It's in good shape now when you read in the newspapers, as you do, that the big problem of the deficit is entitlements. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Social Security is a zero problem. For one thing, it doesn't add anything to the deficit because people pay for it. And for another thing, it's in pretty good shape. Certainly, well, the last of the famous baby boomers will be gone before there's any problem in it. That's why there's a big payroll tax increase 30 years ago to ensure that. But if it's defunded, it'll be a problem. Then there'll be pressure to privatize it. That's a huge bonanza for the financial institutions. They'll put trillions of dollars into their hands, which they can then use to make a ton of money with risky investments, which are therefore very profitable. And when it tanks, as it will, when the economy tanks, there's a technique. You pick up your copies of Milton Friedman and Hayek and Ayn Rand, and you run to the nanny state that you've nurtured, and you make sure that they bail you out. That's really existing capitalism, and it means that the scam can go on. There's a standard way of privatizing something. Like when Margaret Thatcher wanted to privatize the British railroads, the technique was defund them. And then when they don't work, people get angry. They say, let's do something. So you hand it over to private enterprise, which totally ruins them, and then the state has to come back in, big cost, and try to reconstruct it somehow. It's known as privatization. And that's exactly what's happening with Social Security. It's in good shape now when you read in the newspapers, as you do, that the big problem of the deficit is entitlements. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Social Security is a zero problem. For one thing, it doesn't add anything to the deficit because people pay for it. And for another thing, it's in pretty good shape. Certainly, well, the last of the famous baby boomers will be gone before there's any problem in it. That's why there's a big payroll tax increase 30 years ago to ensure that. But if it's defunded, it'll be a problem. Then there'll be pressure to privatize it. That's a huge bonanza for the financial institutions. They'll put trillions of dollars into their hands, which they can then use to make a ton of money with risky investments, which are therefore very profitable. And when it tanks, as it will, when the economy tanks, there's a technique. You pick up your copies of Milton Friedman and Hayek and Ayn Rand, and you run to the nanny state that you've nurtured, and you make sure that they bail you out. That's really existing capitalism, and it means that the scam can go on. There's a standard way of
Every time you see a state institution failing, don't just look at the dumb appointee that was put there, because a lot of times that dumb appointee is put there to ensure the institution fails, so that when it fails, the people that have the political power can sell that institution to themselves or a member of their family or one of their friends, and then find a way to make profit. And after they have made enough profit, they want to walk away. they will find a way to give it back to the state
Class
again.
91.3
What is happening in the
FM.
teleco sector? Some call teleco, some call it telco right now. What did we buy? How much did we buy it for? What was the amount of debt on the books when we bought it? Did we know that that debt will keep growing? And who actually signed off for that to be bought?
Yeah, I think it, like you rightly indicated, that has always been the playbook. They knew at the time the depth of this particular company, but they hid it from the public, and they spoke of the fact that, oh, we are acquiring this for one CD, is it $1? So always we are interested in the kind of political momentum we are creating out of these things. Because no American company will sell off a company to you without a debt and say, hey, take it $1. This is a telecommunication company, a giant one. But they decided to absorb the debt, go and hand it over to the same entity they are buying the thing from. This is a purely criminal enterprise. And for me, I'm expecting that...
And why are people not behind bars already? That's the question. You see, it's easy for people who just don't like somebody personally to find some little personal case, a false allegation, and jump about it. But when the documents are there clearly to show this, why are we walking on eggshells when we have people who have robbed this nation and supervised the death of their brothers and sisters? Not just the death, but their death as well. And they are walking free.
And there are bare fact evidence to justify some of these crimes that have been committed. So for me, I think the state must speed up. With this inertia, with this kind of attitude, trust me, we end up in the same thing. So we need to show that readiness, that seriousness. That will send a message to people that, come on, it's no longer business as usual. The narrative has changed. You cannot mess up or take advantage or run a country or an institution down and expect that you walk free. That's exactly the same playbook that went to the banking sector when some of the local banks were destroyed. The reasons behind it were highly unreasonable because banks will always have liquidity challenges everywhere. Even in America last year, about 3 or 4 banks, Signature Bank and one other bank, went down. But when the signs were up, then the government will move in because people, the citizens have their money in these banks,
and
so government have a stake in it. So government quickly move in. You understand? But in the situation here, we also what happened. Some people as to now haven't seen their money where they are because the banks have been collapsed and their accounts were never transferred anywhere.
But the banks were collapsed, and now they claim they were absorbed into another bank, and that bank is not making profit.
That bank itself is sinking.
How is that possible?
It doesn't make sense.
It's your time who need to go for bank.
Oh, yeah, bro. I think there's some kind of political, some kind of vindictiveness. You know, these are people who are likely to sponsor the other political party. So let us crush them. Because for me, when the signs were clear, we need a certain amount for bailout. And over the world, that has always been the practice within the banking sector.
But we spent more money to kill the banks than to build them.
Exactly. Out. And after that, the bank that was set up is limping. The liquidity challenge, they are still facing the liquidity challenge, and there are several other state-owned banks that are also limping. For instance, Agriculture Development Bank is virtually an empty building. There is no money. National Investment Bank, that is a collapsed bank, is just standing there. You understand that? Because the books speaks volumes about the kind of debt these companies
So
are
let me
in.
talk to you, the young person who is wondering why a young man, only 35 years of age, who has his whole life ahead of him, is so incensed about these things. If you are not incensed, maybe you're already dead. Because the truth is, if we can let some of our own brothers, sisters, uncles, fathers, mothers, and aunties run state institutions down and get away with it, what we actually are doing is we are weakening the remaining state institutions, because we are sending a clear message to the whole country that if you get a state institution to run, do whatever you can, because when you are done, you can take your money and run and let the nation fall apart.
Yes. These were decisions that were taken because people just wanted to destroy banks just like that for political reasons. Because even at the time, even if we didn't have an idea, Obama went through the same plan with America with the 2008 recession. When he came, there were some kind of challenges. Banks were going through similar challenges. He identified some of the bank with the financial muscles like Chase Bank and other banks. He gave them the financial support to go and purchase or buy these distressed assets. All of them were pulled out, and now they are running, making money. At the end of the day, monies that were in were not lost. Individual Americans who were working for this company maintained their jobs. But we did this thing, sank 25 billion Ghana cedis into collapsing these enterprises, created unemployment situation when the government itself couldn't create any avenue for young people. For instance, this NAPCO that was set up was kind of a scam.
That was the biggest scam.
Yes.
Number one, NAPCO made us realize that the government had set a very clear amount for what a graduate should earn. What was that? How much was the amount for?
Some were taking 500 Ghana.
Class
We are graduate for Ghana, and I
yeah.
just say, with salary is 650. Who get a diploma about 550? Who get a SS about 450? Who get a JSS about 350? So NAPCO made that very clear, but it was all a scam, really.
Oh, it was a scam because you see, as government, you're not supposed to provide stop-gap job opportunities for people. We are talking about life, individual life. Stop job opportunity, the person will end, and then what is next? You understand? So government could have made some effort in ensuring that that particular thing is sustained and guaranteed, but because they didn't have any guaranteed source of funding, it was just a political gimmick. We made a promise, let us do something. So they didn't have kind of a guaranteed source of funding to be fueling these kind of enterprises. So people were in, they were not being paid. And that has always been the problem. You see, you can't just build a policy on nothing. Similar thing happened with the introduction of the free SHS. I keep telling people it was one of the best policies. But you cannot implement such a policy without engaging stakeholders. Critical stakeholders who are virtually themselves institutions in these areas. They know the in and out. If you want to come out with a policy, you engage them, you solicit ideas, because problems is what will constitute the foundation of whatever policy that you want to build. But these people were ignored because the whole policy was seen as a political reparation package. We promised that we'll give you free SHS. We have come, we are giving it to you. That was it. No thought went into it.
We don't have enough money
exactly,
to do it.
There was
but
no assured source of
we don't have food for the children, but
nothing.
we'll do it.
So they just wrote it. They realized that the numbers were going up, and they needed to divide the semesters into 3, 4, 4. People were going in the morning, some were going in the night. I know that they created whole lot of messy situation for us.
Now our education system became a 24-hour economy.
It's a messy, and on top of that, government decided to spend a whooping 68.5 billion to buy past questions.
Clarify, million or billion?
It's million.
Okay.
68.5 million for 2 years.
To go and buy past questions. Instead of ensuring you've taught the kids.
Per head, one printing was 78 Ghana cedis.
Hey.
And the mass set was 75 Ghana cedis. Yes.
It will be a wako we will be giant. Anywhere near our boss are chronoing. Why next or dance?
Yes. And some of these items were not even supplied. And all these things were awarded breaching all the procurement laws, because they were also sourced to companies with flimsy.
This message is not just to President Mahama, but to everybody who becomes part of leadership in any country.
Yeah.
During your political campaign, people point fingers at you and they call you corrupt. They call you a thief. They call you all sorts of names. After listening to all those, if you get into power and there is evidence that those who called you names
Class
were actually those who were
FM.
behaving as such, if you don't prosecute them, then they are right in calling you a thief, because you too are one of them. If you are willing to watch those who have raped this nation, stolen from this nation, only to look after their wives and children and their bodies whilst other people have died, and you do not act about it, then what I know as a thinking man is you are the same.
Yeah.
Because I'm robber. Who see a two abo I'm robber on two boni bi.
Exactly.
Because when himself no so nejuma oye no.
Yes.
So if this government today is seeing clear evidence of thievery and is not acting on it, then the message you are sending to the voters of Ghana is that you are the same.
Yes. Well, I think President Mahama will have no other choice than to go after these people, because during the campaign, that was the team. the narrative in town at the time is that these people have stolen our monies, and there were clear-cut evidence out there to justify that indeed monies were stolen. Items were destroyed. A whole lot of stuff went on in this country, and it is at the back of that particular narrative that the Ghanaian people accepted and voted massively for the president. So you have no other choice. You see, it may be early days yet, but I think they said the wheels of justice grind slowly. But in this enterprise, people are really ready to ensure the fall of these people. People really want some kind of punishment, some kind of prosecution. People are not expecting government to witch hunt individuals, but those who have committed atrocities and crimes, like the Cecilia Dapa issue, we need proper explanation as to how she was able to acquire such monies under her bed. You understand? These are because governance is not a cult where few people will go and meet in the dark and
then money
transact
grows.
business. No. Politics and governance is a public enterprise.
Exactly.
And people must know what is going on. Transparency should be the theme.
If not, run your private business.
Exactly.
And hide.
So I think some of these things, these are things begging for answers. And the president and government must do everything. Attorney General has done a couple of press conferences. For me, they are not enough. We need to prove to the people of this country that we are really ready to put people behind bars, to prosecute people and ensure.
Do you believe that people are what they defend?
I've been telling that human beings are very dangerous. And we are very deceptive. So sometimes if you judge people by what they say, you might be making a big mistake. And because saying it and doing it is a different ballgame altogether. But the citizens are ready. They want to see some actions being taken. This period may be some kind of a window that has been created because it's a new government that is being constituted. But trust me, after 1 year or 2 years, if people don't see nothing, trust me, this whole arena is going to be a different ballgame altogether. And the president is aware. He's privy to the fact that Ghanaians want him to take certain decisions and make sure people who have stolen from this country are held accountable. Else,
what in your upbringing makes you feel so strongly against corruption? Tell me about it. How did you grow up as a child?
I come from a very moderate background where you need to fight for everything to survive. And for me, I think this whole corruption fight came about very actively when I got to the hospital, when I realized that there were a lot of things going on. There are a lot of activities, and people were dying as a result of certain inertia, certain reluctance on the part of some individuals to do certain things. And these are lives. You lose it forever. And sometimes when the person dies, it's not just about the person who has died, but the tons of family who depended on that person and the life after, the kid the person is leaving behind. And somebody sitting somewhere who is not even privy to some of these things, because there are a lot of people within the political space chasing money, and they think life is all about money. If you come to the hospital, you see people who have it all.
Begging to live one day more.
They will ask you, am I going to live for the next hour? You have to be very candid and bold enough and tell them, say, no, you can't make it. To make peace with your God before you go. So when you get exposed to some of these realities, trust me, money will never be your priority. It's good. Money is good because we need it. But you see, to have it at the back of your mind, that for money to become a driving force, that you get it at all costs. A friend of mine in the UK quite recently called me. He said in his entire life he has never been to the hospital, but he went to the hospital and he was diagnosed with a certain disease and he got exposed to certain things. Then he realized, hey, he now has a different perspective about life altogether. Life isn't all about money. So sometimes some of these decisions are fueled by ignorance. So for me, I was very lucky enough to get exposed to some of these things at the early stage. That life isn't all about money. It is about creating comfort for other people. People may be disadvantaged. There are people who may not have the opportunities you have.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in German South District. There is a town called Odosu.
I like the way you smile when you talk about where you grew up. What did you do as a boy that made you happy?
Oh, I think reading.
Namokati Mango.
Reading, and then some of these running around playing ball, those kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was a church boy as well.
Church boy?
Yes.
Which church did you attend?
I'm a Catholic.
Catholic?
Growing up, I wanted to be a Catholic priest. So,
oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Where did you go to primary school?
The same town, those who are yes, RC Primary School, went to DC, and then from there went to secondary school.
Where did you go to secondary school?
Techiman Secondary School.
Techiman.
Yes.
Somebody wrote to me to say, "Wabin soja." True?
Oh, you see, some of these things you can't say yourself.
But you said, "No, wabin papa. Wabin soja."
Oh, I think when I started school, I could read and write. That was the thing. And I felt like I had an advantage over my classmate. So, for instance, they will give you a book. You can read everything from page 1 to the last page. Other people could not read. And that was it.
And
so,
you had a gift for retaining information.
Yes. But one thing I didn't like when I was in primary school was that because I could read, I could write, dictation, I could get everything right, the teacher will give you a cane to beat everybody in the class.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. So you end up becoming the enemy of everybody. So growing up, my teachers were my friends. Because on daily basis, you'll be beating everybody in there. And they were kids. They couldn't comprehend some of these things. They couldn't do any analysis to know that.
Were you a little older than them, or you were the same age as them?
I was the smallest.
Interesting.
I was being given a cane to beat people on daily basis. So it was quite an uncomfortable kind of an ordeal. So for me, that was the thing I didn't like. Because
what informed your choice of career?
Nursing, I think I had a passion for caring for people. Yes, because growing up, I saw a lot of people who needed care. And sometimes they were lonely. There was nobody to take care of them. So I felt like, okay, maybe this is something that I can do just to offer that kind of care to people. And when I had opportunity, I took it.
Compassion is a big deal for you.
Oh yes, without it, you can't do it. You can't thrive in this enterprise, because you need to put yourself in the shoes of the person you are attending to, and so you need to share their pain. Because sometimes people might be throwing out certain expressions, certain things. If you don't understand them, you treat them in a way. But sometimes you must put yourself in the shoe, feel the way they feel, think the way they are thinking, to be able to console them. Because to understand somebody, you need to put yourself in the person's shoe. That is why if you go to the psychiatric hospital, they'll tell you that never challenge the deranged person. Whatever they say, just agree with them, and then you suggest. You understand? Because the person is not thinking right. You cannot go into an argument with them.
I think they must also say the same thing to die-hard political followers. Never challenge a die-hard political follower.
Yes, you agree, then you offer suggestion. That is the principle when you go for counseling. Say don't put your ideas in the person's head. Explain the phenomenon to the person, let him understand, and guide the person to make a decision. You are not supposed to make a decision for the person. Guide the person.
For the brilliance you had, some teachers would say, Kyei Innocent, brilliant boy. Doctor, didn't say nursing in tea. And call your doctor and come up, but there are those who also say the nurse spends more time looking after the patient. And so if you're somebody who is more compassionate, nursing may be closer to your heart. In your case, what is it that pushed you towards nursing and maybe not medicine?
Okay, I think at that time I didn't have much information regarding some of these things. Growing up, I had two things in mind. I either wanted to be a Catholic priest, or I wanted to be a president. Those were the things I had in mind. And
it's not too late to be a president.
Oh yes, I went to write an exam, and the invigilator was looking at my paper. He realized the thing was good. Then he whispered, "Come on, the priesthood is a call. It's not an occupation, so cancel it." I said, "No, I will not cancel it." I was.
Or you're paying money.
I was determined that this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And the same thing, I went to write another exam. I said I wanted to be president. The person told me, said, "No, you can't. President is not an occupation." He said, "That is what I wanted to do." He said everything, but I didn't cancel. So I think those were the things I had in mind. But along the line, nursing came in, and I took it. And the way forward, I don't know where life is going to take us. But
in secondary school, how did your colleagues, your peers, react to you?
I think when we first met from different background, we didn't know each other. And in my case, I was sent to a business class, and because I had in mind I wanted to be a Catholic priest, I wanted to go to a class where I would do CRS, read Bible. So I sat in that class for almost like a month. I didn't take a note. So one day it came to me that I moved from the class to join the other class there, where I will be able to do CRS. And that was it. So in the class, I think there was something happened. We were in the class when one of the teachers walked in, and he said that he was dictating note to us. He will say, and then you write it. Then he mentioned consequences. And then a lady says, can you please spell the word for us? And said, this thing you can't. Then he took a cane. Secondary school, from the first person, I was last but one. Then he beat everybody in the class. So when he got to my turn, I showed him. I said, yes.
You had already
okay,
written it.
Okay, yes. And then the two people sitting in front of me, he beat them. And then he says, I was the only person that got it right. So then there is something I can do here. So that semester we did exams and I was first. I had scholarship and that was it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then tell me about moving from high school to university. Did you work when you finished high school, or you stayed at home, did your reading, and then went to university?
No, I went to nursing training college.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Nursing training college.
So nursing,
these days, nursing training college is in United University.
Yeah. So from there, I went to Techiman Holy Family Hospital. I did my national service there, and then worked for a year. Then I applied to University of Ghana, got admission, and then I came. Since then, I'm here to return.
And since you've been in Accra, you've practiced as a nurse.
Or I'm sometimes I say I'm a night nurse.
Okay.
Sometimes I do
night nurse. There's a song with that title.
Yes.
I see a bomb up. Gregory Isaacs.
Daytime I'm very busy doing this and then schooling at the same time until I finish my program. So
what drove you to go pursue a master's degree, and why did you choose the area that you did it in?
I think policy is key. Is the key to everything that we do, and very often we turn a blind eye to some of these big decisions that are made at the top. So I wanted to understand it more, how we
formulate policy.
Yes.
In our health sector.
Exactly, and even across all sectors, because the theories are almost the same.
Yeah.
So I wanted to understand the kind of contribution that I'll make at the policy table to be able to have that kind of impact that I seek to happen down there. And that was my motivation, because if you go to the health sector and look at the challenges, the problems going on, with good policies at the top, I think we'll be able to solve a lot of the problems. And it's the reason why that is the major driver.
More so in a PhD program, but also in a master's program, you get to really engage other minds, some confrontational, some complementary.
Yeah.
In the policy studies that you did, what is it that struck you that is missing in Ghana?
I think the policy formulation itself. You see, just like I mentioned the free SHS, policies don't just come about. There must be a problem, whether a potential problem or an actual problem. So what you have to do is just walk through the problem, tease it out. If you understand the problem, then you weave a policy to be able to cater for all the problems.
But understanding the problem is half of the policy formulating.
Exactly. Because you need to tease out to understand the problem. For the free SH, for instance, if we had teased out the problem, what are the challenges facing school, the secondary school, children at the secondary school level? What are the challenges? Then we would have come to the realization that this are the problems. So what are the policy interventions that will be able to take care of all these challenges? Then we weave a policy having in mind all the challenges.
So the educational, the social, the structural,
all
those will be looked
everything. And because even if you are offering a free SHS policy, you know the numbers will increase. Definitely there will be a pressure at the tertiary level. So you must, at the policy plan, there must be a strategy of putting up more tertiary institutions or expanding the existing one, because the policy, you're able to envisage the possibility of having the numbers swelling up at the tertiary level. Because
why aren't you working in government at least already?
it will be very difficult to answer that question because
is it because most government positions are not even advertised for people to apply?
That could be the case, and most importantly, I think most of the positions are also via appointment and those kind of recommendation that come from people. And if you have right people at the right places, I think you'll get that recommendation, and you can.
I want us to look at the way forward because we're coming to the end of this interview. I have to talk to you again at least 2 times this year. And let's look at the way forward for Ghana. What do you think is the biggest malady of this country? You know, when a patient comes into the hospital, they may have a headache.
Yes.
They may have a urinary tract problem. They may have a boil, but they may also have cancer. What do you think is the biggest malady of Ghana today?
I think it's indiscipline and greed.
Indiscipline and greed.
Yes.
And what do you propose as the cure for these maladies?
When Obama came to Ghana, he indicated that Africa requires strong institutions. But I've always argued that institutions are not human beings. Institutions are not kwaku kwabena.
They are corporate entities.
Yes. But you need strong men with strong conviction to be able to interface these institutions. If you go to America, the very institutions that you see are interfaced by strong men with strong conviction. And they are the guardians who protect the foundations of this institution and make sure the institutional dictate work, not the discretions of individuals who are interfacing it. And that is what we need. I think we need to strengthen state institutions and make sure that they work to benefit the people, but not operating at the behest of those in power. And in recent times, I think that has been the problem. As a president can just make a decision, and that decision will virtually cow all state institutions into submission or subjugation. And when institutions are not effective and individual dictate and discretions take over, it will take you to the kind of arena we went in recent times. Everything will go wayward. So for me, we need to start by making sure we strengthen state institutions, by making sure institutional dictates and prescriptions, or rather take the center stage, make the decision for us, instead of making individuals sitting somewhere making such decisions. If we're able to put institutions in place, I think about 50% of our problems will be solved. For instance, with the recent destiny in our court, the judiciary, if people don't have trust in the judiciary because they think people sitting there are just partisan animals,
are just rubber stamps.
Yes, who are just sitting there operating at the behest of some power that be. At the end of the day, foreign investors will not come into that country because they know the judicial system is not favorable. And even they are coming, they might want any problem that arise to be adjudicated using international law. It's the reason why Ghana is suffering in recent time, because most of our treaties with some of these companies are being settled through international arbitration. So over there, if you lose and you don't want to pay, you have asset there, they will seize it. You understand?
Trafigura.
Yes, exactly. They don't trust the institution. So I think we must make it an effort. In the election, President Mahama said reset. For me, that reset must begin with state institution. For I've seen a number of petitions that has been sent to him regarding the removal of Chief Justice, a whole lot of conversation. I think he should follow it through. If there are enough evidence to justify the petition, the demands of the petition, he should carry on, because you see, it's about trust. It's about that kind of confidence. I've been telling people that if you see a country like an entity, the only thing that sustains is the trust and confidence people repose. At any point in time, that trust is withdrawn, that state, that entity is useless, because you need the people's trust to sustain you. But so if people don't have trust in state institutions, the police, people don't trust them, the military, people don't trust them, the court, people don't trust them, then that country virtually will become a banana republic. A time will come, every man will become a law unto himself. So we need to start by strengthening state institutions again. People we appoint to sensitive position must be based on merit. Meritocracy should be the order of the day, should be the major criteria, because if we begin to favor people based on fraternal alliances and some kind of relationship we have with people, they go there having in mind, I'm here because I have some kind of relationship with KKD, is the reason why I'm here. So it is not about merit, it is not about my performance. So those people end up messing up. And it's the reason why in the previous administration things got worse, because the president virtually appointed his family people into sensitive position. And these people were sitting there thinking that, oh, we are here because our uncle is president. So it got to a point they were running the country like a village pharmacy shop.
How are they seen by the public now?
And the reality has dawned on everybody. These people, who they really are, is out there. Now, some are needed to come and even answer for the very things that they did. They are running away. That tells you the kind of people they are. So for me, if you have done the right thing, you will be anxious to come and answer, hey, this is why I did this, that. But because he knows what he's done, he's unwilling to come over. But people are waiting, you understand? So I think we can build this country. Fortunately for us, we have all the mineral natural resources. We have the human potential, the human resources for us. What is it that we need to thrive as a country? We have the Ghanaian dream is possible.
We have the mineral and natural resources.
Yes.
But do we have adequate mental resources in leadership?
I've been telling people that you can have all the natural resources in the world. If you are not smart, if you are not intelligent, somebody intelligent will come and take it away. And that's exactly what is happening. We have all the mineral resources, but people are benefiting out, the Americans and the UKs. But we can hire these people to work for us because we have the resources. But because of some greed, some individual wanting their cart, they've handed over these things to people. Come and do it. Give me my cart, and then give the state something. Because if you look at all the
give
gold,
the state some coins, give me
exactly
a lot, so I can use it to impoverish and subjugate more people, so I can
be
work
in
towards
power.
the next election.
I'll be relevant. Because look at the big mining site we have in Obuasi. If you go to Obuasi, you'll be sad. The entire town is interfaced with hopelessness, desperation. Young people don't have work to do, but their very land is being destroyed. Yes, the entire town is on daily basis constantly exposed to toxic chemicals. People are dying, but they are not benefiting from these things. So how do we look at our mineral regime and say, hey, the people require some kind of help because the land belongs to them? We need to do these things. So we need to look at our mineral regime and do some changes just to ensure that we, the people, also benefit. We can't have all the resources. At the end of the day, we have nothing, but we are now growing. Quite recently, when we discovered lithium, those of you who are quite much aware, the world is going green. Lithium today is the new gold. People are making a lot of battery out of it. So we recently discovered it in a huge quantity. The expectation was that government will make sure we own it, and then we employ companies out there with the requisite resources to come and help us, tap into these uncharted areas to at least create job opportunities and other stuff. But once again, we handed it over to a foreign company. They should give us 10%. So you see, the playbook has always been the same, and these people doing this will definitely get their cut, and the state will suffer. So the people will continue to be impoverished because that is a deliberate political tool, an instrument to cow people into subjugation, take away their economic freedom. You enslave them forever. On daily basis, they will be calling you honorable. People will be following you for money, and as long as that thing continues, they remain relevant. So for me, these are some of the things that we, the citizens, must be very conscious of, that we all have a stake in this enterprise called Ghana. It doesn't belong to any politician. It does not belong to political party. Political parties are mere vehicles that we use to capture political power. The Ghana is the ultimate thing. So we must do everything to ensure that whoever that is shortchanging this country, it doesn't matter what the person is in your political party, the person may be your uncle, as long as their deed contravenes with rules that are guiding these things, we must rise against as human beings of conscience.
You know what they say, you can teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah. Let's spare those who are 70 and above. I don't think they're going to learn the new tricks now.
Yeah.
Let's look at the youth. Let's look at 15 all the way to 65 and ask ourselves, what are we willing to do differently?
Yeah.
What are we willing to insist on leadership, that this country can create employment for the young? Speaking as a young man, what are the 3 key things that you would like government to start doing immediately?
I think the major problem, as we are aware, is unemployment. and youth unemployment poses a national security crisis
Class
to almost everybody.
91.3 FM.
It threatens our cohesion. It threatens the foundations of our democracy. If young people are idle, the devil will definitely find a job for them to do. And these are vast human potential that are going waste. Now people are going into drugs because of desperation. People are doing a whole lot of unholy stuff because there is no hope for them. You understand? So government first of all must consider creating job opportunity for young people. And that will take a lot of them out of these areas. Very often we find them, and doing so we are also building the future, and that will also have impact on the economy, because these are the workforce that is needed to build this country. So if you are able to engage them, it will translate in terms of impact on the economic fortunes of this country. Because as long as these young people continue wallowing in a pool of hopelessness, doing nothing, the economy will suffer. Because they are the very people you need to impact positively on this.
Be afraid
economy.
of a hopeless man, for he has nothing to lose.
Exactly, nothing to lose. Like a cannon fodder, they will do everything to survive. That's exactly what played out in the Middle East when you mentioned Bouazizi. When his item was seized, he felt like there is nothing for me, so he set himself ablaze, and that triggered a wave of violent. That's the revolution that we saw. That is the Jasmine revolution. Didn't just end in a, how do you call it, Tunisia. It triggered a wave in the entire Middle East and then North Africa. So that is the impact and the consequences of youth unemployment. If you are a government, you begin to sit idle and do nothing about it.
So the thinkers in government must ask themselves, what can we do to let youth employment increase in this country?
Just for the benefit, just to stay relevant. But it should be the reverse. Because once young people are engaged, I think the country will grow. Because the whole essence of you taking over leadership is to grow the economy, have people have decent life. And when you have a workforce, you're not engaging them, then it means it's just some kind of an individual adventure that you're embarking on just to make money, and then you get away with it. You understand?
3 points. You've said 1 point. Number 2.
So, and also, I think we need to take education to a different level. Because, you see, to have a workforce that will deliver on whatever that you need to have them trained, skills, equip them with the requisite skills that are needed to face the world that is coming. Because if you look at the world out there, there are a lot of things people are doing just to reposition themselves, their citizens, to take advantage, because the world is a competitive world. I think we are lagging even in terms of our education. There is a huge gap between academia and the job market. How do we bridge it so people from academia will be able to transition so easily into the job market and find something to do? So I think we must also focus on education, because young people need education to be relevant, to be able to become socially agile, to be able to make contribution to whatever we do. Without it,
number 3. Time running out. Number 3.
Yes, I think we must also tone down on the excesses and the impunity when it comes to corruption, because young people are watching and they are learning. There are people who think that that is the way of life, that is politics for us. So if we begin to punish crime in this country, we make corruption a high risk venture that people might not feel comfortable going. Places like China, how dare you go take government money? Because you know the consequences are so overbearing that it will go beyond you.
Suicide.
You
for you and your children.
Exactly.
And
the entire generation. So everybody is careful not to go into that area. I think that is some of the such examples might be set here, so that those of us growing up as young people, we will not join the political bandwagon with the intention of going to make money for ourselves, but rather to help build the state. And for me, the Ghana will grow again.
Thank you very much. My special guest on Master of the Game, the program that brings you the movers, shakers, icons, and legends of our beloved motherland, Ghana, is Ivan Kyei Innocent. My name is Dakwa, Kwesi Che Dakwa. See you on the next episode.
Class 91.3 FM.
The The discerning audience, the knowledgeable, the stylish, and the classy get together to enjoy Master of the Game. Master of the Game brings you distinguished personalities, leaders, achievers, captains of industry, innovators, masterful storytellers, creatives, and entertainers, all hosted by a Master of the Game.
His Royal Blackness, KKD.
The finest.
Catch Master of the Game on CTV. Oh yes, nuggets of inspiration.